Best in Blue.
Connecting you, the listener, to the everyday inner workings of the Memphis Police Department.
Best in Blue on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Welcome back to a new exciting show of the Best in Blue on the KUDZUKIAN Network. I'm DC, sitting along with my trusty, very knowledgeable co-host, Leah Romer. Hey, Leah.
Thank you, DC. How's it going?
It is going. That's all I'll say. It's going. That's a good thing most time, you know? Look, today, we are blessed to have in our studio a young man who's going to come and talk to us about the DUI unit with the Memphis Police Department. Right here on the Best in Blue.
Officer Galison will be in here today talking about, impaired driving and intoxicated driving, checkpoints and those sorts of things.
And we want to make sure that all of our listeners understand that when we bring this information to you, it's for you to use it, not to lose it, but for you to use this information. And especially when it comes to DUI, stay off the roads if you've been drinking, right?
Yes. Let's bring back the designated drivers, please, everybody.
That's right. That's what we do. And that's what we do mostly here, right here on the Best in Blue on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Hi, this is lead recruiter with the Memphis Police Department, Officer Kevin Moore. Join the Best in Blue. Our requirements are achievable. Our standards are the highest. Our officers are the finest. We are the Best in Blue. Join MPD.com.
Best in Blue, KUDZUKIAN.
This is Robert Galison with the Memphis Police Department DUI unit. You're listening to the Best in Blue, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
You're listening to the Best in Blue on the KUDZUKIAN Network. I am DC.
I'm Leah Romer.
You're not going to let me finish, but that's okay.
I got to be ready. I got to stay ready.
You're so excitable. This is an exciting show today. Exciting show for us, and also we hope for our listeners, because one thing we always try to do here on Best in Blue is to bring you the latest information that we know will be helpful to our citizens and those folks in the community to help make up this big family we call Memphis, Tennessee. Saying that, we've got Officer Robert Galison, who is with the DUI unit here with the Memphis Police Department. Welcome to Best in Blue, sir. How are you?
Welcome. Doing fine. Yeah, doing great.
Let's just jump right into it. Leah, you're just burning with energy over there, so I want to make sure that you get out there and shine.
As a citizen, the first question that I'd like to ask you, are there other ways that you can get a DUI besides through alcohol?
Yes, it is. There's several ways to get a DUI. You can, by operating a motor vehicle while under the influence of drugs, smoking marijuana, any type of drugs, prescription medication, you can get a DUI.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So basically, what we're looking at here is a lot of people probably are thinking that, well, under influence, they're not thinking, I'm not thinking about my medication, Officer Galison. I'm not thinking about it. I took a Percocet and I went out and I thought I need to go to the grocery store right now, right?
Yeah.
When the Percocet is something that helps bring you down, and now all of a sudden one of your officers pulls them over, right? And hey,
what kinds of signs do you look for when you pull someone over?
We generally look for weaving. We look for passed out behind the wheel at red lights, stop signs. We even get them on private lots where they go to restaurants and like some of the stores and fall asleep behind the wheel and a lot of things like that. And then we look for we got other signs of impairment that like making a left turn with the right turn signal, things of this nature. Driving at night without headlights on.
Just those key indicators, I guess, right? Will kind of turn you and your officers on to maybe looking out for those types of things, right?
Yeah, those things is what we generally call reasonable suspicion.
Oh, wow.
And then once we make contact with them, we develop our probable cause.
Oh, wow. So how many DUI officers are typically deployed on a day-to-day basis here in our district in Memphis?
Well, generally on our common days, you can have up to about 15.
Oh, wow.
On a 24-hour basis, covering the entire day.
You mentioned people falling asleep behind the wheel, or maybe they had a dinner date night and fell asleep in the parking lot and that sort of thing. But do you get calls where people are operating the bird scooters or ATVs drunk? And how is that handled?
Well, any self-propelled vehicle, if it's motorized, you will be charged with DUI. We hadn't had any issues so far with the little bird scooters. Hopefully we don't.
Yeah, that's right.
And now we...
Do y'all hear that?
Yeah.
They're about to get someone right now for a DUI.
Yeah. So we trying to educate the public, that, they have to follow the rules.
Well, and let me go there. I want to go there with these. I don't want to malign the bird scooters because it's a nice little addition to what a lot of us consider to be healthy, livable, walkable communities, right? And so that's just another part of the ride sharing that we have in our communities that's popping up all over the country. But now that thing. It's I think it's an electric motor, so that's still considered motorizing, right?
That's correct.
And it goes at a certain mile per hour. And you had absolutely none at this point. Now, so we've seen folks that have had injuries on them now, but in terms of all of a sudden they're getting inebriated, they're on medication, they want to get out and ride on the scooter. That's a whole nother subject, though, I guess, right?
That's correct.
Wow.
And not to say it's not occurring.
Yeah.
With them being on those scooters under the influence, but. We hadn't had no encounters. We've had them to be involved in accidents, like you said, but I hadn't seen one to come across my desk as far as them being under influence.
I got you.
So
you're listening to the Best in Blue right here on the KUDZUKIAN Network. Leah, you're jumping at the bit again.
I
Go ahead.
am. So you're saying motorized.
Yes.
And I think about that there are motorized bicycles.
And
are there people, because those things go fast.
yes.
Are people getting pulled over on their bicycles?
You can get pulled over on your bicycle if an officer notices you to be on that motorized bicycle under the influence. You're gonna get pulled over.
How can we stop people from driving drunk and deciding that they're going to get on a bicycle and drive it across Memphis while they're intoxicated? How can we, as a people, get involved and kind of help prevent that?
Well, the biggest thing that can be done is what we already trying to do across our great city is to educate the public, that first thing is wrong to do. Yeah. You're endangering yourself. You're endangering other folks. TDOT is real helpful. Tennessee Highway Safety Office is very helpful in trying to educate the public, about drinking and driving. It's costly, and just making that wrong decision, it's not great.
I was thinking also, Officer Galison, we have a lot of people who think, and I don't think anybody who's walking around normal who hadn't had a wine or maybe a shot of something and thought, hey, I'm perfectly fine, right? But there's a legal limit to you being able to be, arrested on a DUI charge, correct?
Yes, well, there's a limit that you'll be convicted for DUI, which is 0.08. But you can be a 0.02 and get arrested. It depends on...
Wait, hold on now. I don't know if people know that now. Right. Because I think everybody out there thinks that, hey, well, it's only 0.08, right?
Right.
But it's not that, is what you're telling me.
Right. The 0.08 is just the state law, a 0.08 to be charged and convicted for DUI, not arrested.
Oh, wow. So you can arrest me on a 0.2?
Yes,
if
you operate now.
If we're at a function and we're trying to talk that person out of their keys or trying to get them to maybe take an Uber or Lyft, we can tell them, hey, at 0.02, you can be arrested.
That's correct.
What else can we tell them to get them to stop?
Well, tell them my best quote is to just let them know that your life choices is going to have consequences if you make the wrong choice and get behind the wheel while you're impaired. And that's what a lot of folks don't understand. The law doesn't protect you because you didn't reach a 0.08. If you operating a motor vehicle under the influence, if you're impaired, then you can be arrested.
Impaired driving.
Right.
Wow. You're listening to the Best in Blue on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Best in Blue.
No, and I'm not alluding to the president being a nut. I really am not.
No, you're not alluding to it.
I'm
You're
not.
saying it, basically.
Well, and I'm not comparing him to Hitler or Mussolini, but you had these people who were homegrown.
So why'd you even bring him up?
Okay, I'm going to let that go. Go ahead, Cornell.
I mean,
this is really getting fucking. I don't want to call the president a nut.
No, that's why
And our personal friends.
you don't want to.
I've been to the Trump Tower and I've had my golden shower.
Oh, wow.
Go ahead.
Wow. Okay. Funking up your airwaves and jamming the good information in your ear. Once again, it's Funky Politics.
Hey, this is Colonel Sam Hines with MPD. You're listening to the Best in Blue, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
You're listening to Best in Blue right here on the KUDZUKIAN Network. Of course, as usual, I'm DC, sitting alongside with my, as usual, co-host, Lia Romer.
Hey everyone, DUI unit in the house.
DUI unit in the house. And we're back with you. We've been having a great conversation with Officer Galison with the DUI unit, and he is really laying this thing out for us. So don't go anywhere. You got to make sure you stick around and you listen to this program, because a lot of us are under this misnomer that you've got to hit this legal limit in order to be arrested. But in talking to Officer Galison here, that's not necessarily true. Impaired driving is impaired driving, right, Officer?
That's correct.
You know, whether it be alcohol or be your prescription medication.
Right.
It can be alcohol, prescription medication. It can be huffing.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, wow. Yeah. A lot of people don't talk about that.
You know, so, you know.
Anything that gives you a euphoria, that takes you out of this out of body experience, so to speak, right?
That's
Whether
correct.
it lowers your intensity or it heightens your intensity.
Anything that affects the central nervous system that will cause you to not operate that vehicle safely, you know.
And you're gonna and it's up to the discretion of the officer, and especially in terms of talking about impairment, you know. And I just want to make sure we stress that enough, that you only had one glass of wine, but you walked out stumbling out of the restaurant, and you got in your car and you cranked it up and you started driving, and somebody saw you, and you're considered impaired, even if you're not a 0.8, right?
That's correct.
Wow,
that's correct.
Yeah.
And so we touched on a few really good points for if you're trying to talk someone out of getting behind the wheel. Talked about the 0.02, the court costs a little, the consequences of your actions. And so let's kind of circle back around to like the court cost and the possibly permanent effects on your record. What is someone looking at if they are arrested for a 0.02 impairment? Well,
the 0.02 is usually mitigated through the legal system. Again, in order to get the DUI conviction, you have to reach the legal limit of 0.08. But there can be some consequences of driving while impaired. First off, if you're involved in a crash, you injure someone, you're going to get sued.
Sure.
Even the fact of getting arrested for driving under the influence, you may not get convicted as far as the state law is, but it's going to be on your record where they would, if you ever get arrested again for DUI, they can come back and bring that against you. You're going to pay out a lot of court costs. You're going to pay lawyer fees, back and forth to court. And then it depends on what job you have. You may even lose your job.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of consequences in making that bad choice of driving under the influence.
You know, speaking of driving under the influence, was there once a time when we called this thing DWI?
Yes, it was. It was driving while impaired.
So now it's driving under the influence.
That's correct.
So what was the big shift was there a paradigm shift in terms of saying driving while impaired versus driving under the influence? Does DUI make it a stronger grab, I guess, in terms of law enforcement or in terms of state law?
I think it's more toward state law.
Yeah.
Because officers out there, we're going to get you for driving while impaired.
Yeah.
But the law says we got to meet that criteria of a 0.08
For you to be convicted.
to get you.
Oh, okay. So DUI is 0.8 DUI.
Right.
But DWI, driving while impaired, is just like what we're talking about right now. The impaired
Anything
driving
that's operating that vehicle that's under the influence and not operating in a safe manner.
You're listening to the Best in Blue right here on the KUDZUKIAN Network. We've got Officer Robert Galison with the DUI unit, and he is laying this thing out. If you're out there and you're operating a vehicle, let me make sure we make this very, very clear. Operate the vehicle in a safe manner. If you've had too many, then you need to call somebody.
Yes.
I think the Governor's Highway Safety Office has got this campaign out there now, booze it and lose it.
That's correct.
But you could very well be the one who lose it. You could lose your life, or you could call somebody else to lose your life. You could lose your job.
Right? Yes.
You could lose your family and your career. All of those things wrapped in one, right? Officer Galison?
That's correct. As a matter of fact, Saturday we had a MAD event at the zoo, and we had Dave Brown and some other folks that they became victims of drunk drivers.
I remember his daughter Stephanie. She and I were at White Station together.
Right, and
she was killed some years ago.
Right,
several years ago. 20
we had a real good turnout over there, and we're just trying to get the message out. There's too many ways that you can get to where you need to go if you're under the influence. As a matter of fact, after the event was over, I took my I got a half cab and a half police car, and I drove around and around, and I was just putting the message out: choose your ride. So, and I'm gonna start doing that more, just riding that vehicle around. And
so that's your car, the one that has that looks like a cab, and the rest of it is a police car.
Right.
So you choose which one you want to ride in, right?
Yeah.
You ride the front part, which is a cab. You ride the back part, which is a police car.
Yeah. And
amazing.
I just kind of drove all around Midtown a little bit, sir. And I was just, on the mic, hey, which ride would you like to have? Choose your ride,
How many
which
times,
one is cheaper?
Wow.
Yeah.
How many times do you hear, I haven't been drinking, or I didn't think I drank that much, and that person is really actually intoxicated?
Well, the rule to the public, once they get stopped by an officer that suspect them of being under the influence, their choice is, I've only had 2 beers. And we don't know exactly where that came from, but they actually think by them telling us that they had 2 beers, it's going to make the problem go away. No. Yeah, you might have had 2 beers, but it could have been 2 quarts or 2 40s, 2 kegs for that matter.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
2 cases.
So, right. So,
God
just saying the fact that you had 2 beers, and I guess they think because they say 2 beers that'll compensate for the odor of impairment that we smelling on them or whatever. They're trying to justify, what's going on with them. But once we do our investigation and determine that they are operating under the influence, then we're going to go the whole 9 yards with it.
Well, so Officer Galison, so public intoxication or impairment, let's just say public intoxication, the charge in and of itself, I'm walking down the street and I'm drunk as Cooter Brown, and basically I can be arrested for not driving a vehicle, but I'm walking, so that's considered public intoxication, right? And I can be arrested for that.
You will be arrested.
Wow.
Yeah. Public intoxication is against the law. And and that's generally why when we arrest someone for DUI or driving under the influence, they are charged with public intoxication as well, because they out in the public.
They had to walk. Yes, they had to get to the vehicle. Wow. Yeah.
And so as we're talking to our friends and family, we should let them know that the Uber ride is worth the $5 or $10. Just go ahead and take it. Another situation that's possible, you could call an Uber for someone and pay for it for them. If you're arguing with them and you realize, that they're probably intoxicated, they won't give you your keys, just say, hey, I already called, I got you. Yeah. I'm going to cover this ride for you.
You know what? Look, Officer Galison, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back, right here on the Best in Blue on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Best in Blue.
Grind fed.
I'm your host, Cynthia Daniels.
And I'm your co-host, Williams Brack.
So we're going to be interviewing business owners about their journey. What made them leave their 9-to-5 and just go out and create their own brand?
I think sometimes we overplan things, and that can kind of cause a delay or setback. But I would definitely say dive in, get your name started, get your website up, get your business cards.
Grind fed.
Sponsored by Epicenter, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Play, and many of your podcast providers.
Grind fed.
KUDZUKIAN.
Best in Blue.
We're back at you right here on the Best in Blue on the KUDZUKIAN Network. Of course, I'm DC, sitting here along with Lia Romer, my trusty co-host, and we have been having one heck of a conversation with Officer Robert Galison of the DUI unit with the Memphis Police Department. And he has done, some tremendous work today in terms of getting that message out.
Learn something new every day, and I definitely have learned a few things today.
Yeah, it makes and it should frighten you.
Yeah.
You know, this impairment piece versus being under the influence. I mean, you could be in between, and you're still going to ride.
Well, you know, there's also the fear for your friends and family, like for the people that are driving impaired.
Sure.
Are they going to, harm my friends?
That's right.
While they're out on the road.
I think I read somewhere where they said most of the DUI stops are they kind of somewhere near a person's home or something? Is that when that person has a crash? Have you heard that?
Yeah, usually
Explain
within a mile from their home. And
isn't that amazing?
And I came to the conclusion that the reason why that happened is when they're away from home, they more aware of their driving.
Yeah.
Once they get into their comfort zone, which is close to home, now I realize where I am, and they drop them shoulders, and that's when they end up hitting their neighbor cars and their own cars and
just all over the place
and everything else, because they get close to home and area they're familiar with, and they kind of relax. And
I've had 2 or 3 friends, and I'm just to piggyback on 2 or 3 friends I know personally. It occurred to. I mean, it's a professional here in town, and the guy was 8 blocks up the street from his house.
Yeah, that's generally what
he couldn't make it to the drive, but then I know some who gotten home.
Right.
And some of them said, the Lord takes care of children and fools, and I'm not a kid anymore. So, but now you're being foolish, but also you're putting somebody else's life on the line because of your habit of drinking or being impaired.
I was driving down Walnut Grove one day, and I saw suddenly a bunch of people turn their cars around and go the other way, and there was a big length of traffic and the blue lights, and I'm assuming it was a checkpoint. Do we have to participate in a checkpoint when we see one?
No, you don't have to participate. When you come up to a DUI checkpoint, we have a turnoff point that you can turn off.
Oh, you do?
Yes, that's by law. We have to have a turnoff point. We have signs way ahead of the checkpoint to let you know that there's a checkpoint ahead. If you choose to turn around, you can turn around. Of course, you can't do a legal
U-turn.
Wow.
Right, because then you're going to get pulled over.
Yeah, right, now we're going to get you for making a U-turn. But
right, like, what's up with this U-turn?
Get out of here, Galison.
Right,
Come on, man.
So a lot of folks think they can get up there to the checkpoint and hook that little left.
Well, that's what I saw. People were like in the middle of the road, and I'm like, you're going to get pulled over for that.
Yeah, right. You can't do that to avoid the checkpoint. But we can't force you to come through the checkpoint. Again, we do have a street before the checkpoint that you can turn off.
And just so happens, probably some officers that just happen to be sitting there. I mean, just happen to be.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I would be like, I see you.
So these checkpoints. What are some of the key indicators that you're looking for when somebody, and of course it's a DUI checkpoint, so you're looking for those indicators that have people out there that are probably driving impaired, right? So there are some things that you guys are keying on versus just, okay, come on.
Yeah, you said I've only had 2 beers, so it's clearly one of them.
Even before you talk to a person, there's something that you guys are looking at.
Yeah,
if you can share that, you can share.
Sure, I can. Generally what we look for is, again, as they approaching the checkpoint, we have some that coming up to the checkpoint so fast, not even realizing that there's a checkpoint there, even though we have all this stuff out there, and clearly
under the influence.
And then they drive into the checkpoint, extremely fast, or they might come through the checkpoint. And of course, we be looking for other violations as well.
Sure. Seatbelts.
Seatbelts, headlights out. Like the last checkpoint I was involved in. An individual driving at night, one headlight, and his entire driver's side windshield was just completely just cracked all up. And I'm like, how can you see out of this car in the daytime, especially at night? So, and a lot of folks don't even understand that that's against the law. You can't, driving with your mirror was cracked all up like that.
That's just too much.
Right.
I would just pull myself over.
Right.
Hold on. That's why you get this stuff first here, here on the Best in Blue on the KUDZUKIAN Network. No, please go ahead.
And then, of course, we again, like I said, we look for all other violations. We looking for seatbelts. We looking whether children is restrained in the cars, a booster seats or whatever that they supposed to be in. And a lot of these things leads up our investigation into once we stop them, then we proceed on with our investigation. And then generally when they come into the checkpoint, all we do is ask, how you doing, or
sure.
How's your night, and have you been drinking anything?
Sure.
And generally, if they let that window down, we'll know.
So you do ask that question?
Sure.
Have you had anything to drink tonight?
Sure.
Do you ask everyone?
Oh,
wow.
Everyone we ask. Do you have you had anything to drink tonight? And
oh wow, I don't know about that.
A lot of folks try to give us their drive license. No, we don't want your drive license. We're just checking,
sure.
to see if you've been drinking anything.
And I'm not sure. I think I've been through a checkpoint before. I'm sure I have in 30-something years of driving, but I can't recall because it wasn't anything to it. So if you ask me, no, sir, I hadn't.
That's it.
I've always wondered at the checkpoints, what if the person in front of me is a child? They're not even of drinking age, but they're of driving age. How do you handle that?
Oh, wait a minute. Say that question.
Like a minor?
Yes, a minor. They're of driving age, but not of drinking age, and you kind of suspect that maybe they've been drinking. How is that situation handled?
Well, they pretty much handle it the same way as an adult, because if they have driving age, then they have a driver license.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get your driver license, you attest to certain laws before you get your driver license. Because everyone, if they don't know, they should know that driving is not a right; it's a privilege.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you operate under conditions that's not according to the law, then you're subject to.
You'll be subject to the law, then, won't you?
To the law.
Did you hear that, guys?
So
everyone,
underage drinking in this, I had to dispel a myth the other day because a lot of folks think underage drinking is a lot worse than adult drinking. That's really not true. Actually, underage drinking is less dangerous than adult drinking because for some reason, these kids kind of have a tolerance and the activity. I'm not telling them to go out there because if they do, as a matter of fact, I just did a school at Tresvent and I had to educate them on underage drinking.
Yeah.
They tend to think, that they can handle any and everything.
That's right. That's what young people do.
Right.
They just believe they're infallible.
Right. And I had to make them be aware that, you as a juvenile getting arrested for DUI can be a lot costlier than an adult.
Sure.
Because we can snatch your license until you become 21. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So they don't. The courts can take those licenses. You can and not give them back.
Right.
Right. Underage
so 21?
Drinking. Of course. Underage drinking until they become an adult. So they can take those licenses from them.
And then as an adult though, there is a certain number. I think the state law has a certain your first DUI, there's something in you, and so if you're doing DUI, you educate yourself on what you can do. But I didn't know that as a minor or as somebody who's not a full adult, they can have their licenses taken until they're 21,
right.
16.
Right, because again, like I said, license is a privilege, and it's not a right for you to have. So, being a juvenile getting arrested for DUI is not a good thing.
No.
And the long term, they can't walk down that road like an adult. And even with adults, it's not a good thing because you're gonna spend anywhere up to about $10,000 to $15,000 for a DUI.
Leave us with one good safety tip before we get out of here. One good safety tip we want all these listeners to know, or one good tip that they should know, something that you want them to know. When they see you, it's not good. Number one, it's generally not good when you have to pull them over. And you know what you've done this now for 38 years, so you know what you're looking for. But give them something that they need to know.
Well, one thing that I like to tell them, and the best safety tip that I can give anyone when it comes to drinking and driving, use your head. Don't lose your head, man.
I like that, and I've heard this somewhere before. But hey, look, we've had Officer Robert Galison with us today with the DUI unit with the Memphis Police Department. Lia and myself have been just bowled over by your information and the knowledge that you have, and we wish you well. Stay safe out there. Come back to see us another time, okay?
Yes,
I will do.
Thank you so much for
right here on the Best in Blue on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
This is Lee Recruiter with the Memphis Police Department, Officer Kevin Moore. Join the best in blue. Our requirements are achievable. Our standards are the highest. Our officers are the finest. We are the best in blue. Join MPD.com.
Best in blue.
Riffin' on Jazz.
I'm Howard Robertson, one of your hosts for Riffin' on Jazz. Riffin' is your weekly visit with friends where we dive all in to that classic African-American art form called jazz. So don't miss Riffin' with me and my man Melvin Massey every week on your favorite broadcast and podcast platforms.
Riffin' on Jazz on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
KUDZUKIAN, best in blue.
What a show. What a show. What a show. What a show. That's why Best in Blue is one of the very best out there, you know? What we've been able to experience today, we're talking to Officer Galison about the DUI unit and how impaired driving does not reach to the same level as driving under the influence, but you can still be arrested for impaired driving, and it just is not alcohol, but it's also things like marijuana and these other scheduled drugs, as well as that medication that some of us take, and we think, oh, I can make it home when I let the doctor. No, you need to get somebody.
0.02 is the impaired driving limit.
Wow. And conviction.
0.08 is the intoxicated conviction DUI.
Use your head, don't lose your head, man. Yes. That's what you got to do.
There are consequences to your actions.
Every day of the week. And that's why we bring it to you right here on the Best in Blue show on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Best in Blue on the KUDZUKIAN Network.